I had the pleasure of sitting down with a woman who truly exemplifies what a mom who's figured out a way to raise amazing and thriving kids, but also has found a way to intertwine her own passion, all while being married to her husband of 30 years. Suzanne and I talk about what it's like to have your kids leave home for the first time, how we felt, how we coped, how it affected our family dynamic, and of course, all the emotions, good and bad, that came with that. Suzanne has 5 kids who are out of the house, at college and married, and 3 who are still in high school. So she really has been there, done that, but is also still doing it and preparing to still have 3 leave. She has some great advice about forming close connections with your children in the years that they are under your roof, so that when they leave, you aren't worrying that your relationship with them will suffer. I love Suzanne's story about how she found her passion project and has been able to turn it into a full-blown nonprofit. Suzanne is such a bright light in so many people's lives. Listening to her unwavering conviction in her faith and her purpose is really inspiring on so many levels. As always, I hope you listen to this episode and come away feeling inspired, feeling hopeful, and feeling understood. So without further ado, let's get to it. Here's my conversation with my friend, supermom and superwoman, Suzanne Mayernick. Well, welcome to my podcast, Suzanne Mayernick. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we get started, I want to introduce you, just say a little bit about you for people who might not already know you. You are a mother of 8. You have been married for almost 30 years to your husband, Mike. 5 years ago, you began Love One International, which is a nonprofit organization that provides life-saving medical care for children in Uganda. That's it.
Oh, you did your homework.
I did do my homework. Okay, so when I was just saying this to you outside, when I was thinking about these episodes, I knew that one of these had to be on empty nesting and the feelings we go through as moms when our kids go away to college, when they leave home, when they go away to work, whatever they might be doing. And I was thinking about what I wanted to say, thinking about who I wanted to have on to talk about this. And it was either like that night or the next day, I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across your post. And it was funny because it was just a picture of a seashell. You were holding a seashell. Like you weren't, it wasn't leading as to what you were talking about. And I read your post and I was like, this is it. This is who I need to have on. So I was just going to read a little bit of your post so people know what I'm saying. And I think a lot of people can relate. Okay, so you wrote, lately I have spent a lot of time processing life. My children are no longer small. My house isn't as chaotic as it once was. I can actually clean up the stacks of crap sitting around and it stays clean for several days. Change is good, but feels foreign. For 27 years, I have been the navigator of the Mayernick ship, and now my children have built their own little boats. Their boats are all different colors and have different dreams and ambitions loaded on them, and they are floating away one by one. It is the most beautiful thing, and I am so thankful. But it's different. My children are changing. I am changing. I am having hot flashes, and my biggest earthly desire is for a larger table for my family to gather around, not a cute pair of shoes. What is happening? And I read that and I was like, yes, the boats, they're all floating away. And so I asked if you would come on today and speak with me a little bit, just kind of about what we go through as moms and maybe offer some advice from someone who's, well, you've been there, done that, but you're also still in the process of getting ready to do it. So will you tell us about your kids and their ages?
Sure. So my oldest is Tuta, and she's 28. And then I have Grace, who's 27. Michael is 24. Annabelle is 21. Miller Ann is 19. Joshua and Josie Love are 17. And Caleb is 15.
Do you ever forget? Are you ever like, you've
Just when it's birthday time, I have to transition my head each year.
Okay. And then, so if you're listening and you don't know the ages of my kids, we have 3 boys and a girl, and I have 2 at college, 21 and 22, Justin and Tyler, and then Dylan, who's actually the same age as your Josie Love, 10th grader, and then Ava, who's in 7th grade. So we're both kind of like had some out the door and then some, at college. I read something and I wanted to ask you your opinion on it. And they called it, I actually didn't know it was a thing, empty nest syndrome. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. It is an actual clinical diagnosis. I know, it's a thing. Okay. It is described as the grief that many parents feel when their children move out of the home. It is a common phenomenon in which parents experience sadness and loneliness. They grieve the loss of a lifestyle and relationship that was part of their identity. When Michael left...
Well, Grace was my first one to leave.
Oh, Grace was the first one to leave. Okay. And did you feel it? Like, what was that like, the first one to go?
You know, what I felt more than anything is I didn't realize what a peaceful presence she had. Mm-hmm. And so when she left, well, in the morning time, typically for school, everybody would come in, sit around the island, we would start breakfast, everybody would eat, and there was just this calm, breakfast time. And then put their backpacks on, go out the door. She would take some, I would take some. And then when she left to go to college, that first day that we woke up to go to school, that next year, it was like ping pong balls. And everybody was bouncing and nobody could find anything. And I thought, I have totally failed this year at school of just being prepared and preparing them. And then it hit me. It's her mere presence because she's just such a calming presence. If you ask any of my kids, they would say, oh, she's the calm one. Yeah. And just her presence not being there wreaked havoc.
Yeah. Did you instantly realize it, like in that moment, or did it take you a bit?
Well, after I got everybody out the door, I started rewinding in my mind what just happened. And it was pretty quick that I
Do you think it's, because I've always said that about Justin. When he left, I realized quickly what a peacemaker he was. And I'd hear them all like hollering about something upstairs. And for a quick second, I'd think, why is Justin not putting an end to this? Like, why isn't he coming out of his room and fixing this? Oh, right. There's nobody, he's not doing it. Now this is on me. And again, I was like, wait, I've really been relying. And he was my helper. He eagerly drove. He did anything I asked him. No questions, no that. And when he left, I was like, wait, like this was a big role he filled.
Yeah. But you know what I realized in that was, okay, they do all play a significant role. And so going forward, I mean, Tuta came later, and so she's older than Grace, but she did not come into our home until she was 18 or 19. And so for a long time, there were 7 at home. And I think it prepared me to go, okay, I need to sit down or at least analyze each one to prepare that next one because they're stepping into the firstborn role. And they're going to, at that point, when one leaves, that next one's going to be the leader. And when I'm not a big, read self-help books much. Yeah. I usually just fly by with the seat of my pants and then I get burned.
You don't have time to read.
Well, that's true. But when my children were little and I had 4, I did read Kevin Lehman's birth order book.
Okay, I've not read that.
And it gave me a lot of insight on the roles that they play. And it pegged every single one of my children based on their birth order. So that then when we started adopting and adding children in, I was so aware of their place in the line of our family. I didn't want to put one over another one. A lot of it depended on their personality. And so I was always kind of thinking through those things. But that being said, once Grace left, I was able to say to Michael, okay, Grace is gone now. Here's some of the things that she did that I'm going to need you to do. You've got to step into this space and just empower him to no longer be a follower, but to be a leader. And so with each one, I spent some time the summer before that one was going off, kind of talking the next one through what it's going to look like and what your role is going to be. And these younger ones are looking up to you and depending on you. And you have to step into that.
I wish you had told me this like a few years ago. That's good advice because it's true. Because I really just kind of went, well, I guess I don't have my peacemaker. I guess that's just kind of his role. But it is good, if you think in terms of preparing the next one.
And they step in.
They did.
They do.
Okay.
Like
I have to try that with my remaining ones at home.
Yeah. Can't hurt. Can't hurt.
Did you, when she left, aside from feeling like what her role was, how did you feel like, I mean, because she's your oldest, she's a girl. And one of the things I was going to ask you about was the difference between boys and girls leaving, because boys just by nature, I think, are harder to communicate with as they get older. Did you feel like the relationship with you and her, like, did you feel that kind of loss of the seeing her every day?
Well, my children range from,
So tell us, just give us a little quick synopsis of your adoption story. You had 4. Yep.
And then,
how old were they when they had 4?
Oh gosh. They're the first 3 are 3 years apart. And then, Miller and Annabelle are 2 years apart.
Okay.
So what is that? 3, 6, 9, 11, like 11 to 1.
Yeah.
And
so Miller Ann was 1?
I was completely overwhelmed with 4 children.
Yeah,
going from 3 to 4 really dipped me.
But see,
over.
I was too, and then I stopped.
Well, I was planning
put on
it.
your cape and kept going.
Well, there's my plans and God's plans.
This is true.
My plans don't count. And so when we just really felt like the Lord was calling us to adopt domestically.
You felt it. Okay. So it didn't just fall into you, like you were like, I'm setting out to adopt.
Yes. I mean, we could spend 2 hours just on the adoption stories. They're so long, and you can just see the way the Lord he connected the dots all the way through it and brought every child just at the perfect time. And then in that brought just the perfect people to come alongside us as a family or friends and so without doubt, it was what we were supposed to do. And after adopting Joshua and bringing him in, going from 4 to 5 was much easier for me than going 3 to 4. And I think it's a series of things. I think I quit trying to do it on my own and being like a perfect mom and have all of everything together. And at that point, I was just it was day by day. I was getting up and making it through the day.
You're like in survival mode.
And so, 5, 6, 7, and 8 were so much easier than going from 3 to 4 because I just like, you know what? This is what we're supposed to do. And each one has come in and we've been able to see the difference that they made on the rest of our children's life and mine and Mike's marriage. And we couldn't have created it if we had wanted to. It was just God.
Yeah.
So there was that, but I have such a broad range. I mean, I've gotten some tested for giftedness. I've gotten some tested for, IQ, or we range from one horizon to the other. And so I think when Grace went to college, there were several of my children that, Josie Love, they told me she would never even walk.
Right.
And she is a sophomore now and driving a car to school.
Yes.
And so, I didn't know there was so much uncertainty with some of my children that when she was able to go to college and be excited about going, and I looked at her the day we took her to college and I said, I've spent the last 18 years of my life preparing you for this day. We are not going to cry. You need to spread your wings. You soar we've spent so many years, time, energy, love on this day. Go do it.
Well, and you have a different perspective because you've got other kids that you're thinking are struggling with certain things, and she's got all the seemingly gifts. Yes. Yeah. And it can be hard too, because I felt like for me, when Justin left, I felt like I was internally sad, but that was just for me. That wasn't for him. And I didn't want to put that onto him. I didn't want him to feel guilty about leaving because it's the natural progression. I didn't want him to stay at home and live in the basement forever, right?
Right.
So I'm sad about it, kind of bittersweet, I guess, which is, It's the goal. How did your other kids do when they started leaving?
They all did great. No, they're all so close.
Yes.
And the only thing I can attribute that to is we didn't have enough rooms for everybody, so they had to share rooms throughout their life.
Share.
And I mean, they don't know anything other than just
Yeah.
always being together.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had so many, we didn't invite friends to come. So when we went and did anything, vacations or even outings, it was our family.
Yeah.
And so they all continue to reach out and come home and FaceTime each other and on a regular basis. And so I haven't had any that I felt like left and were gone.
Right. It wasn't like a devastation. Yeah.
No.
Well, because Grace is what? How old now?
She's 27.
She's 27, and she lives here and works with you, and had a baby. And I will talk about that later because I'm like, oh my gosh, now you're like a grandma, which is like full circle. Like now you got another baby because you needed, one more thing to do. And
right.
You're like, oh yes, I'll be a grandma now. That's perfect.
Right.
What do you think? I think I remember posting photos of my boys kind of like in senior year, junior year. And people would say, oh gosh, like I'm worried that once my boys become teenagers, and I mean, Ava hasn't become that yet, but I'm going to kind of lose that relationship I have with them. Like, how are you still close to them, or how do you still have such a good relationship with them? What advice would you give someone? Because I think a lot of times people fear that if their kids go to college, maybe if they're feeling like they're not as connected, that's just going to make them even more so. What advice would you have for someone who's just looking to connect really to their kids or keep a connection open?
You know, when Grace was in high school is it Life 360?
Yes.
Okay. It
blew up.
It blew up.
Yeah.
And we got it for a little bit, and for her and Michael.
Okay.
And after about 2 weeks of it, she came back and she said, I miss us talking about what I'm doing or where I'm going. And because now you don't ask me because you know where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I've never done anything to make you not trust me.
Right.
So I'm trying to understand why we're doing it. And it was a moment where Mike and I took a step back and we're like, she's got a point.
Right.
We're not asking her questions anymore. I mean, questions, but not details.
Right.
Who are you going with? What time? All the things.
How long did you stay?
Right. All the things. Or even, tell me about your night last night. Because I already knew in my head where they had bounced from. And so we took it off. And we made a pact. We said, here's the thing. We do share locations.
Yes.
Just for
safety.
If something happens. Yeah, for safety purposes. But Mike and I laid in bed and he said, there were so many nights our parents had no idea where we were.
Right.
Probably
How did we survive?
Didn't.
Yeah.
And look, we're fine. But we took that away and we never put it back on our phones. And I know it's very uncommon. And
I don't think it's uncommon. So our older two, we never had it because probably like similar, it kind of started to come out and they both said the same thing, that they said they felt like it was a tracker, that they said that they felt like it meant I didn't trust them. And I kind of kept saying, well, no, that this is for driving and it's for safety. And I think too, they hear other people's friends whose parents are like, why are you there? Why are you there? Which they did not like. But yeah. Our youngest two do have it. And I think I got it for Dylan when he started driving and really just being more kind of nervous. But I find myself rarely checking it because, again, if I don't trust you are where you say you went, then that can be a big issue. And there are people who I know go to college and still have it on their kids' phones.
I know.
A lot.
Well, and there's not a right or wrong answer.
No, there's not.
For me, it kept me from really engaging with my children on a regular basis about details of their days or nights. Because if I was to have all my children on that thing, I would lose my ever-living
Your
mind.
GPS would just be like all over the city.
But I say all that to say, I think when we had that conversation, it made me really focus on, okay, rather than anything phone-wise or anything, I just want to focus on face-to-face conversation every time we're sitting in the kitchen or anytime we're sitting around, to where we have really open communication. And we just have through the years. We've all had such open communication. Some of the times it drives the boys crazy because the girls want to talk too deep or into detail, or but then other times the boys are talking about things that the girls are.
Was it harder with Michael? Was it harder with Michael as a boy, or just the boys in general? Just the communication?
No, because I think he's stuck between 3 girls.
Yeah,
and all he ever knew was to talk. And I mean, I FaceTime with Michael as much as I do my girls.
You do?
Okay. I know that's not. I
think it's great. I really do. I think boys get a bad rap that they somehow just stop communicating with their moms. And people are like, how do you keep... I think there may be... we had the 3 boys first, so they didn't grow up with girls. But I think you have to maybe try or put in a little effort or get a little more creative, because they don't tend to just come into the kitchen and want to tell you about their day. Whereas Ava... from pickup line to our garage, I do not think I've opened my mouth. I mean, my ears are about to fall off. I don't know if she's taken a breath. And I'm like, I really just asked you how your day was. Like, and it is just like, every detail of the lunchroom and all of that. Whereas the boys, it's easy for them to just go,
it's fine.
And especially if you have a girl that talks, it's easy for them to just... retreat. So I always kind of said, you boys do better when you communicate with them through an activity that isn't just face-to-face.
I agree with that.
Kind of one-on-one. When they went to college, were you like, okay, I'm going to call you every Sunday? Were you like, how do you not smother them when they go away and yet still be like, I want to know you're okay?
I think I probably go the opposite direction. Actually, I know I do.
In which way?
They'll say, or I'm just like completely back off. Because they've said to me, Mom, like, you don't ever even call me. And so I do try to be more intentional. My girls always FaceTime me when they're walking to class.
Okay.
Grace did it. Annabelle's done it. And Miller Ann's done it. That's their time of, they have a little bit of space in their day. Michael, not so much. I would normally talk to him on the weekends just to check in. And a lot of times it's, allergies and what kind of medicine should I take? But then
what's my social security number?
Right, all the things.
Can you send me the health card again?
Right.
Have I had my vaccination? Like, oh my gosh.
But I think because, I don't know, if I'm not talking to them, they're talking to one of their siblings. And then their siblings are saying, hey, I talked to Annabelle and she told me this.
Do you have a magic secret for the sibling connection? I know you said they spent a lot of time together, but some kids grow up spending a ton of time together and it just makes them fight like cats and dogs. And I think your family is so close-knit. Do you have any advice for kind of fostering those sibling relationships?
Not really, other than that they don't know any different than having to share. They've had to share everything their whole life. Cars are, included. I mean, they've had to share their beds, their bedrooms, all the way. When they started going through puberty, I learned really quick with Grace and Michael, that's when they needed their space all of a sudden.
Right.
So I could keep even 3 in a room together and let the older one have their own room because that's the space that they were living in. And then we just kind of would rotate depending on where the children were. And then when the older ones would come back, then they would room with a younger one because they were out of the puberty stage.
Right. Yeah, they were been there, done that. Yeah, so they could come back.
And I think because we've traveled and served in other countries as much as we have, they know another world other than Brentwood, Tennessee, and it makes them appreciate each other and what we have.
Yeah.
I think that's been probably one of the biggest difference makers.
Well, kind of like how you appreciated Grace going off to college.
Yes. Yeah.
And I felt like that too. I mean, you kind of feel guilty because you're like, what am I so upset about? Like, he's healthy, he's thriving, and he gets to go to college. Like, why am I why am I sad about this? Or then I'm sure you, well, maybe hidden, other women who are like, oh, thank God, I'm so excited my kids are going to college. And then you're like, what, really? Like, I'm not excited they're going. I'm excited for the journey. But do you think did it get easier? Like, as it went on, like with Michael and then Annabelle?
Mm-mm.
It's not.
With each one, it's just a different hit.
Yeah.
Because they all have such different personalities and they all bring such different things to the family and in their place. And that's one thing that people say to me, oh, you've done this 4 times. This is old hat, and I'm like, no.
Well, too, because you've gone from having 8 under your roof. Now you're down to 3 under your roof. So I would imagine just the noise level in general is a lot quieter.
Yeah.
Is that like a thing, or is it a welcome piece? Is it just a new stage, or is it hard?
It kind of depends on the day. Some days, if it's really quiet, I go, oh. But then other days, I'm tired.
I'm tired. And I've been wanting this. This is what I've been waiting for.
And they're all healthy.
Yes. So it's like, what are you complaining about? I know.
I mean, really, am I going to complain? Because all I have to do is invite them over, and it's not quiet anymore.
So Grace lives in town. Michael lives in town. And Annabelle.
Tuta lives in town.
And Tuta lives in town. And Annabelle and Miller Ann are gone.
Yeah, they're at Auburn.
Yeah. And okay, so tell me, because I love the story about becoming a grandma. I can't believe it. You don't look like you could be a grandma.
Thank you. You're sweet.
Oh, wait, what does he call you? Not grandma. Lovey.
Levy.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He calls me Levy.
He's not a year. Is he a year?
He's 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
He's
so
cutest.
Sweet.
What was
sweet.
that like? Like, could you have prepared for how the feeling? Because people go, oh, you just wait. And I'm like, I don't know what that feeling. Everyone's just like, it's so great.
Yeah. It's a balancing act because they're so cute and sweet, and you just want to
do
be
all
with
the
them
things
all
you
the
didn't
time.
do. Yeah.
But I had a really good friend, Tina Myers.
Yes.
She's always been my go-to.
She has
through the years.
9 kids? Yes.
And she told me before Grace had Cruz, she said, I have 2 bits of advice for you. Other than that, go for it. But she said, my first thing is you're a mom first. So if you have, if she asks you to babysit and Joshua's got a track meet, your track meet is what you go to.
Gotcha.
And she said, and I made the mistake of not doing that, thinking, I can just do it all and take the babies. And she said, I learned real quick that I needed to be a mom first. And then the second thing is do not offer any advice unless asked for. If they ask for it, you give it. But if not, and so I've really tried to stick with those 2 things.
Is it working though, the advice part?
I've done a really good job.
Good.
There's so many things that go through my head that I've just been like,
but they have to learn it on their own too.
Well, and things are different. We read books.
Right.
Now everything's at their
it.
fingertips. And so it's been, she's such a sweet little mom.
Yeah. She seems to do it just very naturally. I'll see her at the games and she's just doing life. Like he just kind of fit right in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. I'm excited. Not yet, but one day I'm excited. Okay. I want to ask you, because I think there are a lot of women who had a friend of mine and she was saying that she felt like she couldn't travel with her husband because it was hard on her kids. They didn't like when she went away. And I really felt like I sensitively thought about my answer. But I could tell that she truly believed this. Like she felt like she was doing the right thing by staying home with her kids. And her kids are not babies. And I remember I just said to her, I said, I think you need to make an effort to go, not all the time, but once in a while. And I said, they're going to be gone before you know it. And I promise you don't want to stand in a kitchen with a man that you no longer recognize. And you have forgotten kind of who you are as a married couple pre-children. So being married 30 years and having 5 out the door and 3 at home, did you think, were you ever conscious about keeping your marriage in check, or did it just kind of happen? Did it fall by the wayside, come back on track? Because I'm sure at times it's more challenging.
Sure.
with kids?
I think that's just something you have to work at. I think being a mom is something that you fail on a regular basis, and you have to pick yourself up and kind of dust your knees off and the scrapes. And same thing with marriage. I think it's something that it's a daily thing where you go, I'm going to give it all that I've got. You know, I tell myself I'm going to outserve him today. You know, I'm just going to outserve him today.
I mean, I kind of think you do just by waking up. Really.
Well,
I mean, your day is pretty much started.
We run a marathon by 7.
Yes.
I think for sure it depends on the season. There are some time where you are able to get away and do more. Started out with us when our children were little. We did date night once a week.
You did.
We did. We did a date night once a week. I needed to feel like I was not Cinderella in the cinders. I mean, I did good to get a bath when they were little, 3 days in. And if I knew we were going out to eat on the Friday night, I could take a shower and actually put on makeup and remember that, I actually was Cinderella at the ball at some point, even though I don't remember it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so that was important for me, and just for him being at work, just to sit across from each other and look each other in the eyes and have a conversation.
Yeah. Not about the kids.
Right. You kind of have to make a pact. We're not going to talk about
and
the
then
children.
you're back 5 minutes, and then you're like, hey, we're not talking about the kids. We're not talking about the kids.
But I would agree with you. I think actually the best thing we can do for our children is for our children to see us making our relationship a priority.
Yeah.
I think it gives them security. I think they feel protected by that, loved by that, all the things. They're going to be just fine to be alone with somebody that's going to take care of them for 2 or 3 days, for you to go away and make sure that, because if that crumbles, everything else crumbles, right? And so if we don't really nurture that and take care of it, then who is going to?
And I think it's really easy to become resentful as a mom if you're home in the day.
For sure.
And it's really easy to look at your husband, even if he is off working and doing that thing. It's really easy to be like, oh, it must have been nice to go to lunch today. What was that like? What was that like? And he'd be like, I don't know. It's a business lunch. But you had no children.
Right.
You had no one climbing all over you or getting a fruit snack for. I mean, and you don't mean to be facetious, but you just want to feel appreciated and heard.
1,000%.
So it is.
Agree.
It is nice to, I think, if you can just kind of escape for a few days and feel like back to yourself, and then also not worry. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to have all my kids not there and then kind of be like, what do we talk about? Like, I hope I still like you in 25 years when the last of our kids is gone. Because you're not the same person you were 25 years ago.
No.
And that's just the people was like, oh, he's changed. And I was like, well, I hope he's changed. I hope he's not who he was 25 years ago. It's not who I want to be married to. But I hope I know him and hope I like him.
Yeah.
And I won't if I don't nurture that. And
you're exactly right.
the kids will be fine and they will all learn.
The goal is for them to be alive.
Yes.
When you get back.
Just be alive.
Just be alive. Yeah.
You're dirty. You're fine. Whatever.
You have not brushed your teeth since I left, but you're alive.
Did you, when they left, did you ever do any, I don't know, like form like clubs or anything? Did you have any like outside connection with female friends that you felt like you could share? I mean, I don't know, tennis, Bible study. You were just you.
I mean, I have friends.
Yeah.
I think through the years, I used to be very extroverted, and the more the merrier I wanted to be.
See,
around
I
people
would have thought you were so extroverted.
Now?
Yes.
Thank you.
I see you coming and I'm like, there she is. Like, you're just like this ball of energy. I don't know. I would have totally said you were extroverted.
Well,
maybe I just know you.
I have been through my life. Yeah, I like you.
Oh, thank you.
I actually enjoy spending time with you.
I actually like you. Wow, that would have been awkward if you just said, we're like, okay, we still have some stuff to get through.
But I think because I have such small amounts of time
you do.
to spend with people, I'm very particular about who I want to spend that time with. I mean, I can blend in a group or at a football game or at ball. I mean, that's been in my life, is to sit at some type of sports event. But as the years have gone on, I think I just realized less is more. And my children are older now to where they're all my best friends.
Yeah.
And so I can call any of my girls at any given moment and share my heart or heartache and know that they're going to understand and, us be able to talk through it. So that probably makes a difference.
Yeah.
I do think we need our girlfriends just like we need time with our husband. And so I have just the last year started reaching out to particular girls that I feel like that the Lord's just laid on my heart. Like, she's a good one.
Yeah.
Like Pepper McGargy.
Yeah. Oh, she's a good one.
I mean,
she's so great. She's another one. I see her coming and I instantly know I'm going to smile.
Oh,
but, because she's just that.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I was saying to someone, I'm like, I am just someone, when we go into a large group, John is a talker. He'll talk to anybody. He loves to talk to someone in the checkout line at the supermarket store. I'll see him looking at the person. I'm like, don't do it. You don't need to talk to them. You don't. Oh, here he goes. He's talking. He's talking to the person next to him on the airplane. I'm like, not everyone wants to talk to you. He's like, no, he's asking everybody. And I'm like, again, I would say I'm a little bit of an introvert, but also I just really like close relationships. I don't love small talk. And same thing. It's like, I feel like our time is limited. So if my conversation is not of value or leaves me feeling good or feeling informed, it's like kind of what was and I love that you say about your kids being best friends. I don't think I was a great teenager for my parents. I think I rebelled a lot. I don't even know why. And now I have a great relationship with them. And really, I started having a great relationship with them when I went to college. Okay. I don't know. My mom always said, you needed to move out for us to have a good, I don't know what that says about me, but so I was really worried about my kids turning into teenagers because I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, like if this is the relationship I'm going to have with them, like this is going to be really hard. And so when it started not being, I was like, okay, well, that's one more year and things are still great. That's one more year and they're still telling me secrets. That's one more year. And wow, like this is really going great. And I think teenagers, especially boys, get such a bad rap. And we, as moms, kind of fear that they're going to turn into teenagers and college students and we'll lose all that sweetness. So I love that you say they're still great friends because I feel the same way. And I would, for sure, just as much as I would like call a friend, I would call Justin or Tyler and tell them kind of like about my day. I don't even know how that happened. Do you know how it happened with you? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I never feel like I was like their buddy. We were always very careful to say, like, I am your mother first. Like, let's just get that straight.
Right.
I'm not your buddy. I am not your pal. Like, we are not on this. Do not call me dude. Do not call me bruh. Do not call me girl. Like, all these things. I'm like, no. You have gotten too comfortable in this relationship. We need to dial it back a little bit. But I don't know, like that secret sauce of... I don't know. Did your kids feel like they could tell you anything?
Yeah. I think I never responded shocked.
Yeah.
I kept saying, there is nothing inside. You can say to me that is going to shock me. And I told them that from day one.
Yeah.
And I think just listening rather than always giving advice.
Which is a hard one.
Like I had to bite my tongue.
You did. You had to actively
bite my tongue.
Because you want to fix it. That's your instinct, yeah.
I would say, well, what do you think? And what do you think you should do? And kind of put it back in their court and let them think through it.
See, I feel like if I said that, they'd say, well, I don't know. What do you think? And I'd be like, oh, thank you for asking.
Let me just tell you.
Since you asked, I'm ready with my response. Yeah, I think I need to I don't know what would have happened if I had listened more, but I think most of us could listen. Because if you listen and don't respond, then they'll keep talking.
Yep.
And tell you things that, yeah, I don't know. I think we always said there is nothing, doesn't mean I'm going to be like, this was a great decision. It doesn't mean there won't be a consequence, but I never wanted them to feel they were in a situation that they could not get out of.
Agree.
And I think that's probably really important when they go to college to feel that way.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Once they turn 16 and get behind the wheel and can leave.
Yeah, they leave you.
If you don't have a good foundation by the time they're 16, it's not 18 when they leave.
Right.
It's 16 when they're driving a car.
And that's good advice, because I think a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to start prepping for college in the 9th grade.
No.
Yeah. Because really, once they've hit puberty, if you have not established something,
yes,
it can be really hard, because that's when they kind of start.
Oh gosh, I would skip all 3 years of middle school of my children's life.
I'm in it.
Right over it.
I'm in it. You just came out of
it.
No, I wouldn't either. I keep saying, I'm like, you just need to get to high school. It changes. And everyone's like, what changes? I'm like, just something. Yeah. I think middle school, they're all fighting for the right. They're all fighting to kind of try to get over that. Okay. I really, 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 we might go back to something because I want to talk about that, but you to talk about loved one, because one of the things I think is so important as a mom raising kids, whether you have a career or whether you stay at home, is to have something outside of, if it's your full-time job or outside of just raising kids, that lights your fire. Like whether it's a hobby, whether it's volunteering, whether it's some sort of group you take part in, just something that because if you have an only child, I mean, your life comes to a screeching halt in the form of change. And so that you're not just kind of like wondering what to do with yourself. So tell me about how Love One came to be. Would you say that's your passion?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like your ninth child.
It is. It is such a big piece of my heart, but it's a mother's heart is how it blossomed. So when we brought Josie Love home, from Uganda. She was 3.5, and she did not walk or talk. She just sat in a corner. She rocked a little bit. Her eyelids were droopy. And they said, we've had physical therapists come in. They've done all the work where their chances are she's probably never going to walk. Really don't know what the issues are. And so, I mean, we went through a series of trying to get her assessed while she was in Uganda, and they couldn't do that.
How did you even know about her?
Well, I have a friend her name's Katie Majors, but was Katie Davis at the time. Okay. She wrote a book, Kisses from Katie.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
And I got to know her, and Mike became chairman of her board of directors. Okay. And so we were traveling to Uganda. Okay. And she introduced Josie to us. Her name was Josephine. And I had already heard the name Josie Love. Which
suits her just so well.
I know
it's just so well. So well.
So anyway, being over there, when we went to go pick her up, she had 105 fever. She literally was laying limp across our legs. And we were in the doctor's office, and the doctor said, we ran these tests, and she just tested positive for HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. Wow. And we were shocked.
Yeah.
In a state of, what do we do now? We can't leave her.
Because you were already saying we're adopting her.
Yeah, we were there to bring her home. And it was just kind of a routine medical exam in order to bring her back across the border.
Wow.
And well, then everything started clicking of why maybe she wasn't reaching these milestones, or, because we already had, at that time, we had 6 at home.
Yeah.
And so Mike got on a plane and came home and met with infectious disease at Vanderbilt. Wow. I stayed there to make sure that she got the medical care that she needed. But in that time, I sat in hospitals and clinics and
in Uganda,
undergoing all these tests, trying to figure out how we can get her healthy enough to get her home. And the tuberculosis was the stopper. They said, she needs to be on this treatment for a certain amount of time. We need to keep her over here. So we pulled her out of the children's home. She moved into Katie's house. Katie kept her with her until we could get the addendums put on our home study in order to bring her to the United States. And I think just being over there and holding her and her being so sick, and there was nothing I could do. Every hospital we went to, it was a dead end, and they would send us to another place, and then they would send us to another one because this x-ray machine didn't work, and then they were trying to get her saliva to be able to test, and they didn't have any suction, and they were sticking tubes down her nose with no KY jelly, and I mean, it was just, and she was 3, so she was screaming, and her fever was through the roof, and I can remember standing there thinking, like, it was just something like I had never experienced. I was heartbroken. There was nothing I could do to help. And so we finally got her somewhat healthy. I went back over and brought her home.
Can I interrupt you for a second? So I've never adopted, but I'm curious to know, like, because when you just said that at the hospital, like as a mother, I felt that, like how that would make you feel. So even though you said she was 3.5, she had never lived in your home, you've only met her in Uganda. When you're adopting her, are you like already in that moment feeling like she is one of your children? Like the same, like, are you already, I'm her mom, like this is hard on me as a mom, like when you're adopting, or does that take time to kind of the love to grow or the connection to grow? Are you just feeling like instantly she's in our family, I'm her mom?
I think every adoption journey is different.
Okay.
That with Josie Loves, Mike and I, like we reached out and said, hey, Katie will take her to Kenya. We found a specialist in Kenya that will do an assessment on her just so that we're prepared stateside and we can give her the care that she needs once we bring her here. They would not allow it. There were multiple things like that that we tried to do to get her more healthy before we brought her home that the children's home would not allow. And so in our adoption process, we found ourselves battling more and more and more for her. And when you're fighting for somebody, and that's what happens a lot of times with adoption journeys. You fight so hard to get that child cared for and to finally get them home that when you get them home, they're yours.
Right.
I mean, you're going to take somebody down at that point. Cross me again.
So that's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah.
So your mother instincts kick in that this is my child.
Right.
Whatever we have to do, we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it if you can't do it.
Yeah.
Or, you go through that. The processing of all of it. So yes, the minute I held her in my arms because our adoption journey had been so rigorous, she was mine.
So how long did it take from the time you met her till the time you got her home?
It was a little over a year. Okay. Which is very quick for an international adoption. Is. I mean, Joshua was 3 months.
And he was
3
domestic?
months in my arms.
Yeah.
Caleb, 3 months, he was in my arms. Which, that was 17 years ago.
I was going to say, yeah. It'd be harder today.
Wow. But, so yeah, I did feel like she was mine. But once we got her here and within 9 months, the HIV was undetectable. You could not find it in her blood. She was walking around. We got her little eyelids lifted with surgery. Wow. And it's like she just came to life.
Wow.
And then they told me going in, your family would not be ideal for a child like Josie. She really needs parents that can give her one-on-one attention. But what we found, they circled back 3 years later in therapy and said we were wrong.
Yeah.
Because not only did she have you and Mike, but there were 6 others
doting
that were calling
on
her name and taking care of her. And
she has an example to follow after. Yeah.
And that's how she learns, is by routine.
Yeah.
And by doing things over and over and over again. We didn't know it at the time, but she saw so many people getting up, eating their breakfast, putting on their uniforms, packing their backpacks, that she just did it like everybody else.
Gotcha.
And then, after she got healthy, I would lay in bed at night and I would have memories of being in those hospitals and then think about all the mothers over there that feel this anxiety and they love their children exactly the way we love ours.
Right. Because it's not orphans. Well, a lot of them are not orphans.
No, it's
not. They have a mother or parents. They just can't get the help.
They can't pay for medical care. They don't have transport. They live out in like tribal villages or communities.
Yeah.
I mean, they're neighborhoods just like ours are, but it's mud huts typically. And they don't have access to clean water or medicine. And, because they're mothers, they're gardening all day long. They have to walk a while to get their water. They use their water for cleaning and cooking. They're nursing babies, so they're not drinking water.
Right.
Like, think about how much water you drink when you're nursing. Yeah. And so then they're nursing their babies, but their babies aren't getting
nutrients
because they're malnourished.
Gosh.
And so it's this cycle of, well, I'm feeding my baby, but she's not growing. And I mean, we have moms who will walk hours and hours with their baby on their back and show up on our front porch. Or we have like kind of community leaders out in the villages that say, hey, there's a baby out here that's in need. And our team goes and gets them from the community or from our porch and takes them to the hospital. And we get them assessed and figure out exactly what's going on with them. Typically, they'll stay in the hospital anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks, depending on how severe they are. Some of them have to be put on oxygen, and I mean, are very severe. Others are not that severe, but they're not healthy enough to go back to a hut where there's no electricity or water, or really even food to eat. And so that's when they land at our center after the hospital.
So when you've gone from lying in bed and thinking about it, and now you're talking about centers. So I think people listening are like, but wait, how she just did it? Like, because that sounds like a huge undertaking with 8 children. So how do you go from thinking about an idea to, I mean, were you just like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah.
And you just start.
Well, yeah, I had met a few friends when I was over there getting Josie Love, enough to say, hey, if I start this, can you come and be the hands on the feet on the ground until I kind of get it up and running? And I got on a plane and went and met with some government officials and said, hey, I've been there. This is what I experienced. I want to help Ugandan mothers that are just like me. And I want to make sure that they're have peace in their heads and their hearts that their babies are going to be okay. And all they need is a little support and encouragement.
Were they receptive?
Stamp.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I started out as a community-based organization, and then it grew into a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And, we started out with just a handful of babies and 2 staff. And now we have, my staff over there is 75. We have 3 pediatricians, 4 nurses, 7 social workers, baby caretakers, HR, accountant, a whole management team. Wow.
How many kids do you see come through your doors a year? Do you know?
Oh,
can you even count?
Hundreds. Right, we can hold 40. Oh, I was actually there last week. So last week we were
just rolled in from Uganda. She just rolls in, rolls back out. It's like, I just say that because you just say it like I say I was at Target last week. Like, you're just like, it's just part of your life, which is amazing. But sometimes I see you and I'm like, gosh, this woman gets a lot done. Like, I need to start doing more like active things but you just put your mind to it, I think, and you just do it. Did you ever have any moments of maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this? It's too hard. It's too much.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, there's corruption and it's hard. It's a third world country on the other side of the world. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I think, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But then you see hundreds of babies come through and go from being on oxygen and, weighing 7 pounds at 18 months old. And you see them become healthy children and go back into their communities with their families. And you just go, oh,
that negates the bad.
Yeah. That's what we're doing it for.
So you've taken the kids over there a bunch of times, right? Have they all gone?
They've all gone.
They've all gone. Do they love it?
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
You took Josie, did you take Josie Love back to the town where she was born? Okay,
yeah.
That was a while ago, right?
It was right before COVID. So
yes.
Maybe 2018.
Yeah, okay. I remember. What were her thoughts? Because did she have any memories of it from before? Probably not.
Just pictures, I think
Pictures,
recollection from pictures. We went back to the children's home and there were 5 caretakers that were still there. And when she came walking through the gate, they started crying.
Because they probably just could not believe it.
They could not believe it. They said, we thought you were dead. We thought there was no way you would ever. And a lot of people don't ever go back. You know, they adopt out and then
so they
just
didn't
gone.
know her story. They didn't know she'd been
No.
adopted.
Well, they knew that she had been adopted because I met them when we were there.
Okay.
But they didn't know what had happened after we left.
Wow.
And it was great. It was we were all crying by the time we left because one of the caretakers, her name is Josephine, which is her namesake.
Oh, wow.
They named her after her when they brought her in.
Oh, I love
It was sweet.
I know. Do Grace works with you?
Uh-huh.
Full time? Like you see her all the time? Full time,
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice too.
It's so good.
I need to do something that my kids can come back and work with me. Yes, I know. One day, well, this was not one day. This was 4 years ago. John came in and he said, I need to ask you a very serious question. And I was like, well, what? He said, did you offer them a car if they promised to live by you when they were adults? And I was like, no. He's like, did you offer them a car if they lived by you? I was like, well, maybe. I was maybe having a moment of weakness. I was like, I don't know. And I think, too, that's because John and I left. We left. And we love living where we do. But that's the one thing I have missed is having my parents around and my brother and their cousins. So I keep trying to say that to them.
Right.
I'm like, this is what I miss. And plus I will babysit for you whenever you want.
Yeah.
I keep saying that. I'm like, you'll want that. What advice would you give a mom who's sitting at home right now and is just overwhelmed? Just feeling in the thick of it, feeling like she's never going to get back to herself. And how did I get myself into this? Because a lot of people are probably saying to her, it gets better. You just need to wait till this. But I know Tina was saying not to give advice to Grace. But what would you give advice to the rest of these young moms?
One of the things I feel like people our age say to younger moms is enjoy it. You're going to miss that stage. And every time somebody says it, I'm like, no, I don't miss that stage. Maybe because I was in it for so long and it was so hard.
Yeah. So basically you're validated. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, we are validating it. It is really hard.
It's so hard. Yeah. And you feel defeated every day just to wake up and do it again.
Right. It feels like a punch in the face some days.
It's so hard.
A mac and cheese bowl to the back of the head. It's just God, you know what I do for you ungrateful kids.
It's so hard. But now that I'm on the other side of it, and you start seeing the fruit of all your labor, it's so worth it. And there is nothing more rewarding.
Yeah.
There's nothing more rewarding than to see your children grow up and you're able to see all the little seeds that you planted and watching them sprout into whatever it is that they're supposed to be. And like I said, with the ships as they're leaving, that stemmed from everybody saying, Mom, as they're leaving the door to go to college, thanks for keeping the ship afloat this weekend, But and when the funny thing is, I kind of live with visuals. And so when Miller Ann's leaving, I kind of see a little pink and white polka dotted boat. Or when Annabelle leaves, it's tranquil white. Blue, aqua, the same way when they were little, the only way I think I was really able to just kind of open my hands and let them just go be is to visualize guardian angels around them. Even around their cribs at night.
Yeah.
I worried about when they were sick and I was laying them down at night. I would try to visualize guardian angels around their crib. And then when they walked to go to kindergarten, I would sit in the carpool line and imagine guardian angels walking down the sidewalk, going to class. And as they pull off in the car for the first time when they're 16, I just imagine guardian angels following the car as they go down the street. And Same thing when they leave for college. I have to visualize that for the peace of my heart. As a mom, just to let them go and know that God's got them.
Do you think a lot of our worry comes from control?
1,000%.
Wanting to control.
So that would be my, if I'm going to give advice, is just to know that you can only care for that child that's standing in front of you in the moment, which is why we named it Love One.
Oh, yeah. Tell us how did Love One get its name?
Well, you go to Uganda and it's paralyzing, the amount of children. If you start looking around, you're literally paralyzed. So we're just going to focus on this one, get them the food and the medical care they need. Then we'll go to the next one. But that actually stemmed from when my children were little. And I was in the kitchen and everybody was, Mom. I'm like, okay.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Juice. I'm going to get this one juice. And then this one, I'll get some animal crackers. And this one's going down for a nap. And I'm going to change this one's diaper. But it was just the one. You can't do 5,
I'm only loving one of you right now. Yeah.
So I'm going to do one. And then I'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
And that would be my advice. Just whatever the need is in that moment, get that need done and then go to the next one.
Yeah.
Sunrises and sunsets are your best friend. God knows that we could only do it for a certain amount of time. Sun is going to set and it is a new day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then just, you're going to fail and it's okay. Cry. Let your children see you cry.
Can you imagine parenting with social media?
No.
I mean, I think my advice would be just to put your phone away.
Yeah.
Because I see these young women, whether they're influencers or whatever they are, with these little kids. And I think if I was a young mom in the throes of it, looking at how I perceive they're living their lives, I mean, I would just be like, I am failing.
Yes.
And
every day.
It's not real.
You already feel that.
You already
to
feel
have that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think there are people on social media who are good at saying, today was a meltdown. Today was whatever. But, there's some people who are just not. And maybe they do have these unicorns of kids. But I think for the most part, most young moms are struggling.
It's so hard.
Your comparison is, oh my gosh.
And it's just a season.
It's a season. And it gets better.
It does.
It does.
And it's all worth it.
It's all worth it. All right. Anything fun coming up for Love One? Are you opening up any more countries or
no? But we are
over
building.
The world?
We're building
In Uganda. Will you always stay in Uganda, or do you have any desire to go to a different country?
We actually had this conversation with my board of directors a few weeks ago. I would love to saturate Uganda to where we can look at the country and statistically show that we have made such a significant impact there with malnutrition. That's to where we can say, wow, because of Love One, a country was, affected. I think a human nature is to go, oh, well, you've done it here. Now let's mimic it and do it here and here and here. I don't want to do that because I'm old and tired, but maybe some of my children.
I'm tired. You've done enough.
You
have absolutely done enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question about Love One. So because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. I think you and I have talked about this before. When you are showing, I don't know, you don't call them orphanages because they're not orphanages. They're centers. They're like medical centers, right?
It's a rehabilitation center.
So these are not children who have been orphaned and somebody can or will ever be placed for adoption, right? This is truthfully just medical care to keep them at home with their mothers. Because can you still adopt from there? Or did you tell me it's hard?
You have to live there a year, I believe.
Okay.
It is to keep a family together.
Gotcha.
It's to keep
I love that.
Help a child or support a child to be healthy so they can stay with their family. There are some children that we come across that for one reason or another, their mother or father is not there. But typically, their culture is so loving. And there's a grandmother that will step in and help, or an auntie or somebody that if you give the support that they need to where they can care for the child, add them into their 4 or 6 or however many children that they have, then they will bring that child in and take care of them like they're their own. So I I believe every child deserves a home and a family, not necessarily a building that's more institutional, where they don't have a mother and a father, or a mother or a father. I just think even in our own home, we've have realized the importance of it. So the goal is to support families, get their children healthy so they can stay together as a family.
I love that. How can someone help support or get involved with Loved One if they wanted to?
Well, there's multiple ways. We actually have an ambassador program for girls. And actually, we started out thinking it would be college-age girls, but it's 16 to 50-year-olds.
I've seen, well, probably too, like just Josie Love's friend group and stuff like that.
They're involved in it. And we started out with 25 just here in Nashville, and it's grown to over 300 nationwide. I mean, we have an ambassador in Canada, one in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's just a group of girls who come together. We have a retreat once a year, and they volunteer, they fundraise, they do marketing, kind of just, hey, here's what Loved One's doing. You want to come in and help and support and be a part of it.
Do you take people on mission trips or
I
no?
don't.
Okay.
Not, I mean, at some point we may have that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother role of employing somebody to do teams to travel over there. And it's such a well-oiled machine, and it functions so well with the staff that we have there. You start throwing in extras, and it just kind of messes up their process.
Well, I'm just like sitting here in awe. You have definitely got it down. And I think that you are just someone who is living out your passion, but your purpose too, for sure. While mothering all 8 great kids of yours and your marriage. So I'm really thankful that you were here today and kind of shared some insight. And I think that people listening will hopefully have picked up some great tips. And I mean, I know I have just sitting, I'm like, I'm going to need to start doing that at home. But I really thank you for being here.
Thank you. I told my girls that there were a couple of things could you do this? Can you do that? And I said, I'm actually going to go be on a podcast with Miss Reed.
They were like, wait, what? You do something else?
I didn't cheat. And that we were just talking about you and how much we love you, and just your
thank you.
Presence just makes us smile. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Suzanne.